Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of A Taboo Life, where everyone has a story to tell. I'm your host, Drew Franks, or Frank for short, and I want to thank you guys again for listening. Come check out the website, ataboolife.com, where you can read some interesting articles such as Christmas, MMA, and the Wu-Tang Clan, the fun side of cultural appropriation. And you can also listen to other episodes of the podcast, such as this month's most popular episode titled Swingers Gonna Swing. And no, that's not an episode about swing dancing. So come check out the website, ataboolife.com, where you can also read short stories, poems, because I am that sappy, and also a couple books on there that you can all read for free. Today's guest is Miss Jenna Horner. She is a really talented artist in Gainesville, Florida. I had the privilege today to actually drive to Gainesville. Wasn't that far of a drive because I live in Jacksonville. She is also a yoga instructor, so I was able to take her yoga class, which was a really good class. I feel pretty nimble now. But she is a really talented artist, paints beautiful murals, and her popularity in Gainesville is steadily growing. She is also a really interesting person to talk to. She has a very unique insight into the world of art, and also a very deep person too. I enjoyed this interview. She was a really, very lovely person to talk to, and she is a really great yoga instructor. So here's the episode. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Sounds good, man.
All right, we're live. I want you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay. My name is Jenna Horner, and I'm a local artist to Gainesville, Florida. Specifically a multimedia artist and a public mural artist.
Public mural artist. The way I found out about Jenna is because someone on Reddit messaged me and gave me your name. So I looked you up. I'm like, man, this is some really good paintings. I'm not an art connoisseur, but it was actually pretty interesting. Like, oh, that's really pretty to look at. It's really beautiful. So I emailed you, and now we're here. All right. So, see, how did you get started in this?
Into making art?
Yeah, making art. It started when I was 5.
Yeah, well, I think, as most stories do, everybody always does that. But the truth is, yes, as a kid, I did like, I think just like creating in general, we'll say. Art can be taken in so many different directions. So I did prefer more hands-on things as a child, and specifically drawing and painting, making things at all, was always more appealing to me. School was kind of difficult because of that. I was always like working, really hard to push through academically so that I could get more creative opportunities, throughout school. But I would say, yeah, that really cheesy answer of, came out of the womb with a paintbrush in my hand. No. I do think that I, as a kid, responded to making art pretty much right off the bat, that it's kind of innate within me. But then from there, I've grown a discipline and kind of made some circles around different types of art in many fields. I actually grew up acting first. So
really?
I thought I was going to be like a Broadway star, as any like 9-year-old does. I started with wanting to pursue music and theater, and I always loved doing art, but that was more something I had put on the side as a child, this being said. And then in high school, I really realized that I had a heart for visual art specifically, and that's what I had kind of fallen into in high school when everybody's asking the question, what are you going to do when you grow up? And you're like, I have no idea because I'm a kid.
I think that's like one of the stupidest questions you can ask a kid, or it's like a lot of weight you put on a kid. Like, okay, what do you want to be? Do you have to really think that far ahead?
Well, I think it's like this constant pursuit. Like everybody's always thinking about what they should be doing, but yeah, for me, I definitely have followed my heart, if you will, as far as I've also been blessed for sure to have the support of a family that supported me in the arts. I think that's something I've come to terms with a lot, is meeting people who have pursued art, that it's a very brave, weird discipline to take upon yourself. If you actually want to take it seriously, you have to be willing to accept from most people that they won't understand it.
Yeah.
And they'll also have an immediate, like, judgment or kind of confusion about how you exist. It's always like, how do you live, you know?
Well, like, a good example of that, have you ever read the book, The War of Art?
The War of Art? No.
Oh, it's such a good book. He's a famous writer. He had a couple of his books made into movies. I completely forgot his name, but he wrote a book about the discipline of art, and it was really realistic and eye-opening. So, like, listen, art is a beautiful thing. It's reflecting your own voice, but also this is a job. Like, you have to be disciplined with it. It's not about being better about the other person. It's about being better than your previous self. Like, you keep perfecting your work. And he made a good. One thing I really did remember about at home was, he said, like, even the best artists still are self-critical or still nervous, even like if they're 20, 30 years into it.
Yeah.
I think he said, like, Henry Fonda, or was like a famous older actor. He would do movies, then he would do Broadway. But he said, like, every time he did Broadway, he would throw up before the show. And he's like a vet now, and he still gets like that.
Yeah.
But it was a really great book. It was, like, I'm really glad I had to listen to that audiobook, but...
Yeah, I just finished a book called Big Magic that's about the creative discipline, basically. It's called Creative Living Beyond Fear is the subtitle. But that's one of the better books I've read as a person, whether you're creative or not, as far as just kind of navigating that space of wanting to find your creativity or where you lie kind of within that. Yeah.
Well, one good thing about that book, was really, like, the whole book is eye-opening, but he said the reason why you procrastinate, or the reason why you're afraid of, like, doing art or any type of work that you find meaningful, like, the more fear you have towards it and the more you want to stay away from it, only means that you love it that much. It's your mind protecting yourself from failure. Yeah. And 100%. Yeah, you just gotta ignore that. Well, yeah. Ignore
or embrace.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Depends on the day. It's like, I can't listen to you today.
Yeah.
Today's not the day for you saying, like, oh, this is gonna suck. Don't do it. Take a couple of shots and keep working. All right. How do you get your inspiration for your art?
Loaded question you got there, Frank. I would say I am inspired by all things around me. I definitely have become more in tune with responding to events and to things that are actually happening, kind of in my time on this earth, if you will. I feel that I have, I got my minor in art history and my bachelor's at the University of Florida in painting. So I, for a while, kind of was building these concepts and things in this very academic way, trying to have an understanding of the things I wanted to make. And coming out of school, speaking of fear, it is a weird place to come out of, because you have this structure and you have these people telling you when you have to have work done, and you are inspired by the people making work around you. You're in an atmosphere, where people thrive off each other, and it's a community, and then you kind of go out there and you get a kick out the door and you're like, good luck. go make a thing. And so I think that for me, I immediately wanted to respond to what was, sometimes people say like when you're creating art, you're either going to be either like political, emotional, or, you know, like you're responding to something either within you or outside of you. So for me, it was like, I came to a point, I think, where it was, well, why do you do this? You know, what do you want to say? And if you don't want to say anything, that's okay. But then it's for you. And it's not really for other people then, is it? So for me, my art is about being received. I feel really inspired by our natural world. So I'm often inspired. I was doing a lot of work very specifically on taking like close-up photographs of something in nature, the finer details within, you know, if what other people would find super mundane in comparison to like a beautiful view off a mountain or something, like the wrinkle in a leaf that's dead on the ground, for instance. And taking that and having it be the structure for what I build or create. I often take recycled and repurposed materials, and that's kind of been my main thing that I've wanted to thrive in as far as custom work goes, is taking repurposed, recycled materials and bringing them back to life. So taking anything that's been orphaned or considered trash or useless and bringing it a use, giving it something to be that it wasn't before, kind of redeeming it. And that is something that I've continued to do and want to grow in for sure as an artist. So I build a lot of surfaces with these materials and then I'll paint into them. And with the murals, I've kind of become more involved with public art in the last few years. And that is primarily what I'm doing right now. So it's interesting, you know, you take time on and off, I think, certain types of work. And right now I feel very well equipped, like, and ready to be making public work. It's hard work, working large and for different companies or different people within your town or other towns. And that specifically was where I came to that question of like, okay, you're getting spaces, you know, in public places where you can say things. So what do you want to say? And a lot of my inspiration comes from wanting to focus on humanizing. I think more than anything, finding a common ground instead of thriving on differences that we have, thriving on our similarities, which, you know, in really basic terms is the fact that we are all human. Yeah. So bringing some kind of sense to, I think also in the culture I'm in, you know, with technology and the way things are and will continue to rapidly change. It's really important to come back to some of the basics. And so I'm really inspired by some pretty simple stuff. Really broad terms.
And that was a loaded answer.
Loaded question.
Loaded question, loaded answer.
Loaded.
I like what you said about how some arts or some artists are responsive or responding to political or something that's decisive. And when you said that, it kind of like hit home for me a little bit because some articles I do a mixture when I write, like I do fiction, poems, short stories, or then I do like the serious articles that a couple of them were political articles, but nothing about like Democrats, Republicans, more kind of like what's politically correct and what should be accepted as not. One article I wrote was like why political correctness is kind of bad for art and also bad for looking for the truth. Like I think people should be careful the audience you're presenting it to, but you should feel free to respond to that or use whatever method to actually create art. But that's just me. It's a weird thing, but
it's not a weird thing. I don't think it's a weird thing at all.
But like no, like I thought it was a good insight you said to that, like where instead of responding, you're trying to create. And just like what you see is. Like what you said about looking at a leaf or a piece of grass, how can you make that more beautiful?
Yeah, I think that it's just like an interesting kind of metaphor to take some notice to the things that are smaller than us or that don't seem as important, and then bringing importance back to them. Because, like I said, it's kind of those simple things, the smaller things, the ignored or unwanted, orphaned, all of those things kind of coming together and trying to, like I said before, bring them back to life, give them a new purpose.
The mislooked.
Yeah.
Give them like a nice little coat of paint. Like, hey, look at this. Look how pretty it is. You guys completely missed this.
On everything.
So obviously you're in business for yourself, and like especially for me, like I want to know. I know other people who are artists who are in your situation, actually our situation. How did you get started in the actual business aspect of it, and how do you continue to actually help make it grow?
Yeah. Great question.
Is that a loaded question?
That is the question.
Because you're actually in business for yourself.
I am. And it's taken me a while to go ahead and say, like, good job, because I think part of what you want to do, and it's a good thing to also be this way, but is to want to grow and do more, learn from the things you've done and kind of figuring out how to be in business for yourself, especially in this type of work, is a learning process. And it has been that. I would say that I've learned a lot from, honestly, the growth in things like social media and stuff like that have just totally helped tremendously.
Yes.
We've been given platforms, that are free to work on and navigate. And if they're used wisely and in the right ways, well, it's so true. I mean, it's just, there's so many ways these things are used for harm just they can become something that is actually really good. And if you embrace the way that they reach many people, for the better, then they can be used as great tools. So I'll say that first, that social media has been a tool for me to grow within my own community. But for the most part, word of mouth. I think that if you do
the best advertisement.
It sure is. And also doing a good job in whatever your job is.
Obviously, that's the first thing.
Yeah. Do a good job.
Priority number one.
Be good at what you know. But it's true that how you do things, how you treat people, like especially with the murals and with any project I do, I just find like with artists especially, sometimes more artists can be introverted, which isn't a bad quality. But I think the way that you work with somebody is a huge testament to the type of work you make and how you'll work with other people. So, for instance, with the murals, with the businesses I've worked for, I try to just be the most decent person when I'm working with other people, because it will hopefully have a domino effect, right? It's like, if I work well with one business, then they'll be able to talk with other business owners or to other customers. And when people see work and say, oh, I love this painting, or I love this, whatever it is I've done for somebody, then they have an immediate reaction of, she's wonderful to work with, I'll give you her information. And that's where so for me, word of mouth, is a huge part of where I've come today, where if you are happy and excited about the work you're doing, then that will hopefully translate to people, and you'll continue to do it. And that makes it more exciting to work for the next person as you get this. It does have a chain reaction to it. So, and that sounds a little easier than maybe it is. I mean, I have conversations with friends all the time in this field, and it's tricky. I would say I didn't jump in and say, I'm going to only make art, and that's going to be it, and I'm going to be great at it, I'm going to make a bunch of money right away. I have a lot of hats, and that I think is super important for people to understand in this world too, that out of school, sometimes you have to get a couple of other things on the side as a backbone.
Yeah.
And I know people that have, I could go in the restaurant industry right away or something. And I'm happy that I haven't. I've tried to choose different things that kind of assist what I already want to do art-wise. So that way they also have a domino effect to each other, that the more I kind of invest in my community or find pockets that make sense as side jobs, right, then they all help each other out. They're a team. So I have a weird little pile of hats.
Yeah, see, just to let you guys know, before we came to her house, I went to your yoga class, and it was actually pretty good. I feel pretty stretched out now.
You look nice and tall, man.
Nice and tall. Well, I kind of remind myself, like, when I'm talking, I need to
just stay lifted.
Stay lifted, be a little bit more confident with the talk. But, yeah, like, that's what you said. You wear different hats just to support the main hat, or the head that wears the hat.
Absolutely. Yeah, at 100%. And I have rarely found somebody that is, especially in my stage, I would say, as an artist, that's not doing that. Because it is what it is. You just can't survive off of it alone. I mean, that being said, I am primarily, most of my finances come directly from the murals from commission work. So there is most of my living that's coming from that. I also teach painting classes at Painting with a Twist, which is an entertainment painting company.
You did that in Jacksonville.
Yeah, it is very cheesy and great and fun. And, you know, it's more of like an entertainment kind of business more than anything, I think. But I still do get the opportunity to teach a very simple way of understanding painting to people that, as I've done the job for a while now, I just realize need it. I mean, even if it's done in a way where if you have a glass of wine in your hand or not, it is nice and interesting in how it's reflected back to my own work, even though they're very separate things. You know, I'd like to think I make fine art and that place is fun art. But that just, you have these separations for the different jobs, but they still, like you said, are hats to the main head, which is creating.
Well, like, so. I feel like those hats are, one, those hats help. You need money. Obviously, we all need money. We all need the jobs so we can eat, pay rent, pay bills, pay off the bad credit card debt. But to me, like with the writing and stuff too, and also getting inspiration for actually finding people for the podcast, I feel like those different hats, like what you said too, help out with the head or the main reasons why you're doing it. You might get inspiration from, say, like for example, like the whole painting with a twist thing. Yeah, you teach them how to paint, but maybe you're looking at a person holding a wine glass and the way she held it. It's like, you take a snapshot in your head, like, I'm going to maybe use that later for something.
Yeah, I think for more, it's like an experience like based thing. Like I have great conversations. Like so much of my inspiration comes off the human experience. So just meeting vast groups of people and. Yeah, in any project that I'm doing or hat, I guess, that I'm wearing, whether it's teaching yoga, doing the painting, I sing some locally with a couple of groups. So just, finding those little niches that are going to be exposure to different types of people experiencing different things. And
well, like the best artists are going to have experience and stuff that may not be within the art field. Like, I think. Oh my! I can't believe I forgot this writer's name.
You're doing great, man. Keep it up.
Papa Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway. He
Papa.
Papa. That's his name, Papa. He had a lot of inspiration. He was a war reporter. He went to the Spanish Civil War. So, one thing I kind of tell people, and also try to remind myself, the best thing you could do is actually go into the world. And take a chance and try to learn something from it and bring it back and try to use that as your voice.
Right on.
Right on. Here's a good question that, I was thinking while you were talking. How do you deal with the naysayers or the people who are just... Actually, you know what? How do you separate, a valid opinion versus someone who's just being a dick? Or just how do you separate that?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So I would say that first you mentioned something earlier about the constant criticism, and that is something that I think people think the word critique often resonates negative with somebody. If you are being critical of someone, then sometimes you get this guard right away from people that's like, oh, I'm not ready to handle that. Like, I do not want your critique. But I could critique you in saying, like, something positive. Like, that's also a critique. So, or just, that opinion about what you do. So, good question. I would say that the way somebody approaches you or the work itself and what they have to say, I mean, it's very relative. So, but for instance, I would say that there are people that I think approach it where they are coming from a place where they know they don't have a background in art, per se, and they are trying to communicate what they feel from what I've made. I will never, ever negate somebody's feelings about what they draw from something that I create, because I do strongly believe that everyone can experience different things with art, that they'll hit home in multiple ways. If somebody reads something that I do as offensive, or for instance, then I want to have a conversation about that. I don't necessarily think that there could really be a wrong critique. And I think that's something that comes from somebody that went to school, and we don't have a lot of tests. We have critiques.
Oh, okay.
You sit in rooms of people and you look at your art, and you have people sit there, and you have teachers and, you know, people that really know what they're talking about technically. So you have the technical critique where we're talking about how it's made. And that can become really hard. So you kind of grow this tough skin to that type of critique. But then when people just have their own opinions about what you do, I think that's one of the best things you can learn as an artist, is to have an understanding that you don't have to agree with it, but you have to accept that that's their take. Yeah. That's the way they've read it, and that's okay. It doesn't, I think that I have goals for sure at how I want people to experience my art, but I also don't hold people to an expectation of experience, if that makes sense. So I think being open-minded with how people feel about it is definitely important. But like you said, there are people who are dicks. Yeah. And there are definitely people who, it just comes with the, like, nod your head. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Old school saying, where I have plenty of experiences with people where I can nod my head and say, like, all right, appreciate that you felt the need to, say all that, and moving on. Like, this will hit home to whoever it needs to. It's like, and I will rarely have my work offend people. Like I said, humanizing is usually my goal. So I'm kind of going for the opposite of that. But I am very interesting, especially with murals. I interact with a lot of different people. I have lots of people just on the street. So I talk with a lot of homeless people. I talk with a lot of people that, I'll work at night in a parking garage. I've done that recently. And I meet characters, and I meet people that work in really nice businesses. So it is a very diverse group of people that I'm finding at my time right now, being the critical people, which I enjoy. I would say that I'm actually really appreciating the different opinions and feedback.
To touch on that, I was thinking about this the other day. I will have more respect and more willing to listen to a person, even if the person is just being a complete dick, if they're saying to my face. I feel like with the internet, going back to social media, there's a lot of trolls out there. And to quote Bill Burr, he's a comedian I love, he went on a talk show, so listen, 30% of the internet is actually good people. The rest of it is a bunch of assholes. Yeah. And I had to kind of teach myself, I stopped reading comments, even if it's good or bad. I'm self-critical of myself enough, and I'm always pushing myself. Okay, how can I make the next episode better? What's the lessons learned, the mistakes, the good parts of it, with the writing too. Okay, how can I make a better article, or what's a more challenging article I could write? Because I'm really self-critical with that part. but I feel like if someone came to my face and told me straight up, even if they're pissed off or offended, I'm more willing to actually listen to them. Because it takes more courage for them to do that than someone behind a computer screen. Like,
absolutely.
Oh man, your painting, your mural sucks. You fucking suck. You're offensive. You offend me. It's like I can't. For me personally, I'm not sure how you. Well, I'm gonna ask you how you feel about that, but I just stopped listening to them or stopped reading the comments.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't actually feel like I've had too many experiences with people hating what I'm doing, just because my message is very specific, that kind of unifying thing. So in that way, it is pretty all inclusive. That's one of my things, is that I want those criticisms to be known and had, and I think, like I said, though, the thick skin to know what to take in and to just leave the rest. If you spend enough time even being caught up on the comments people say to you, whether it's over the internet or in person, then it just takes away from, I feel like, all creative energy and juices. It's sucking from that, like, cup. You're pouring out of that cup, and there's no need to do that for people that aren't respecting what you do. So, it's a pretty simple, for some reason it comes a little more simple to me, I think, at this stage and where I'm at career-wise, which is just like, if you really feel this way and it's something that I, just don't really, I always, like I said, respect people's feelings. If somebody's coming out as, just having a lot to say about it because they just feel like they want to be heard and they really want to say a bunch of crap to me, then I don't know. Then it's really not something I try to thrive on, because I feel like my energy can be used for a lot of better things.
Yeah, like the one comment like that made me stop reading. Well, pushed me towards stop reading the comments was the guy said, "Well, okay, the podcast, the episodes suck, the writing sucks, but the website looks nice."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, well, I got the website right. But like, it's, I know I think a lot of artists, maybe not even artists, as people in business or in politics have to go through the same thing with the whole social media part, and also you have, because of the internet too, you're going to have a bigger voice, but also the critics are going to have a bigger voice too.
Yeah. And it's important to listen to people's negative critiques too, I mean, I think it's good to not ignore those things as well and say, okay, why do you feel this way? And like, come back to my place in it and say, okay, is there a reason why I've had multiple people say this about this type of work or whatever it is? And then you take it into account, digest it. I don't think it's useful for anyone to receive the same type of critique from multiple groups and then just consider it somebody else's problem and not their own. I think there's something to be said with also just, taking in information and...
Yeah, if you have different people saying the same thing, it's like, okay, then there's something that needs to be changed.
For sure, yeah.
It's like you need to grow from that part.
Yeah, I think growth in general, just from all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly,
Good, the bad, the ugly.
Grow from it, learn from it.
Well, the thing about art is that you make yourself really vulnerable. Like, you're exposing yourself to the world, and that's something that not a lot of people in the world actually do. If you think about it, like, people work office jobs or they work normal 9-to-5 jobs, and it's somewhat safe if you think about it.
For sure, yeah.
Then if you're an artist or something, you're actually like, hey, this took time. This took time and effort. It took a lot of imagination to look at something and see it as a different light, and then showing that light to the world. I think it takes a really brave person to do stuff like that, especially what you're doing. Like, you're doing murals where it's, it's exposed to the public. It's like, it's out there to the public, and you're putting your work out there to be exposed.
And people will say whatever they have to say about it. So, I'm very aware of that, and I appreciate it. Yeah, I do think it is brave. It would be silly to say it's not. I don't think I'm some hero for it, but I do think that you have to acknowledge that because otherwise you can go in and get totally, torn apart as soon as one thing maybe that is said that isn't exactly what you want to hear or exactly how you want something to land, But that's the beauty of art.
Beauty. And you keep, so, constant feedback thing. Like, you're always learning, too.
Yes. Always.
Okay. What piece of art is your favorite? The one, it's like a 2-part question.
Okay.
Something that you made and something that's made by a different, like, from an artist. Yeah. Different artist.
So I would say for artists I'm inspired by, I don't know if I can nail it down to a certain piece, but like Robert Rauschenberg is probably one of my favorite artists that's like outside of the traditional painting. So I got my degree pretty much based off of a very traditional oil painting kind of background. So I can do like pretty traditional oil painting. But then obviously there's a whole world that art has opened up to outside of our very old school ways of representing humans and places with oils. And so the multimedia aspect that I do for custom commission work, where I'm kind of using these materials and using more than just paint to kind of create a surface first and then allow paint to just be an additional tool with these materials. So really the thoughts of collage work is something I'm super inspired by and into, and Robert Rauschenberg's definitely one of the artists that I've looked to for that. My own work, and then like really cheesy with my oil paint background, one of my favorite pieces of art. This is really cheesy if anybody knows anything about art, but most people know the painting, which is A Sunday Afternoon on Le Grand Jeté, which is an impressionist painting by George Seurat.
Keep talking while
and it's like probably a screensaver on your computer. So I promise. And it's all impressionism's all the dots that come together is the most simple way I can say that probably too at this moment.
Sunday Afternoon.
And part of the reason I love that painting so much is that there was like hundreds of versions of it. Yes.
That's it.
Hundreds of versions of that painting done. And that's one of the reasons that I love it. Like, it's pretty cheesy if I were to tell you that's my favorite painting, but it is because of how many paintings it took to make the painting. I find it just like a really beautiful kind of profound statement on like making work because it's like you make 100 or like 1,000 of anything to make one good thing. And that's how most artists should feel, that every single thing I create is not going to be some masterpiece, but that I will make like, a bunch of stuff in the studio we're in right now. Like, I have a lot of little things around, and those little things are all going to come together, hopefully, to create something, or at least bring me to the idea or that moment where I do come up with the piece that does matter, or that is good, right? So, well received, whatever you want to fill in the blank there. For me, one of the better, like, multimedia projects I've been able to do is actually with a church, which was interesting because I haven't done much work with churches, but they asked me to collect materials from everyone in the congregation and make a painting. And the church was located on a creek, so they found me because of the work I had done with stuff with nature and then this idea of collecting used materials. So it was probably one of the better like examples of that type of work that I would like to be doing more of, where I was given this really wonderful, diverse group of people. Like you rarely go into a place and have 100 people give you different materials that all had very sentimental value to them. And then I was able to rip and cut and tear all these materials up and stack them on top of each other to build a surface. And then I did this painting of a very small wildflower that was floating in the water on the creek that went around the church. But it was a very abstract kind of built up surface piece. So it's a nice, that's actually one of the paintings I really liked, as far as just work I've done that has like, I've stepped back from and said like, that was a really nice project because it did allow me, to meet a lot of people, to collect from so many different stories and build a narrative with a painting that's just really cool. It's like a bunch of little Easter eggs hiding in like one canvas, you know?
Easter eggs.
Yeah, just like little surprises. And there's so many things we just don't know. I think that is what I love about that type of work is it, for some person, it's going to land very differently than the other, just like what we were talking about, where it's got multiple avenues of response to it.
Yeah. Especially for someone like me who loves the kind of like a mystery part, when you said about the whole Easter egg thing, because you will have people, I think in the future, will look at that as like, okay, how do we find out which part of painting belongs to which person, and they'll make it
and you never will. That's like kind of the thing with the way that I'll build surfaces is some of them will be hidden. You won't even be able to tell it's there. And then some of them you'll have just a glimpse of like, you know, a piece of paper from music notes or something. And you can see that was one song one time in there or whatever it is. But I do, that was a special project. And then, mural-wise, actually, the one that I'm currently working on is definitely something I'm very, very excited about. And like to continue just to make work like that. So,
which mural are you working on right now?
I'm working on a mural that's on 8th Avenue, but it's actually been one of the first couple where I've been given. It's first my largest, 150 feet long.
Wow.
And
wow, that's a big
it's very
mural.
large, so that is very exciting to me as somebody who likes big spaces and spaces in general. But it is the first time somebody was really trusting in the work that I've already done and said, I love what you do. I want you to be full you. This is kind of what we're doing in this space, but like say what you gotta say kind of thing. So that's been really fun. Because first, when it comes to a space that large, I love to like respond to spaces. I think that what's happening in a space and what's going to be like the type of people moving around it, and for instance, all these things matter, right? Like that's what I love about murals is they're environments. They're not just walls, you know, they're spaces. So people exist in them, and businesses, and animals, and homeless people, and all these things, right? So I think that with this space, it's an old, forgotten space. It resonates with the rest of my work that I do, where I'm taking these old, forgotten things, bringing them back to life. But yeah, I'll let that kind of be if you want to find out, go look at it somewhere else.
Come to Gainesville.
Online, on the World Wide Web. Eventually coming to you.
Eventually coming to you, or take the trip to Gainesville, see a game, get drunk, and go look at the mural.
That's right, perfect.
Or in any order. Go see the game, look at the mural, get drunk, look at the game. I mean, whatever. So what's the long-term goals? Like, where do you see this going in the future? For me right now, I am taking advantage of the fact that, one, I'm young, and for some reason I've decided I want to paint giant walls in the middle of August in Florida. But whether the season or not, it is hard work, and I am very much dedicated to the work of public spaces right now. I like being able to spread some of the messages and images and things that I find important. I think multiple people have shared with me resonate as important to hear and know and see right now. Politically, world-wise, just in general, culturally, all those things. I think it's important for me personally to be making public work. So that being said, I hope to get out of this city doing it. I love Gainesville. Gainesville has completely supported what I have wanted to do in a really special way. And it's very progressive here, actually. Gainesville is really growing into this type of place that's just, you know, supporting the creative endeavors on many levels, musically, art-wise. A lot of entrepreneurial people start here and kind of work into different career paths, whatever they may be, and then go from here. So I feel really compelled to
be able to travel with the public work. I'd like to be able to do some traveling just within Florida, but also get out of the state if I can get out of the country, for sure. I think that I'd like for my messages to be, you know, all inclusive, like I've said. And so I'm really hoping to get some opportunities to make work outside of the city as far as public work goes. And then outside of that, just the fact that I have chosen, you know, this career that is super deeply enrooted in who I am as a person. It's very emotionally charged. Mm-hmm. So I hope I can continue to just make work like that, you know, for people that has meaning and gives me this purpose of within my creativity, you know, where I can hopefully kind of affect some change, whether it's, like I said, all of those things in a city or in a space, but also in people's homes. You know, the custom work I've done have been very specifically for people in their own homes or their own businesses, where I'm taking those materials that have meaning to them. So I think, sorry
guys if you listen to that. I have to get a new mic. every time you move that cable, a little loud ring happens.
Sorry about that.
That's no problem. You didn't know about it.
But yeah, so I would say I have a lot of, you know, I look to the future, but I also try my best to be super present in the work I'm doing now, because I think the more present you can be in whatever you're working on, the better chances you have to have more success later. Like, I really could not believe in anything more firmly than, like, be where you are, do what you know to be true here today. I have today as far as I'm concerned. I don't even know if I'll wake up tomorrow and have tomorrow. So why not just fully, you know, be there, make work while you can, let it have its own growth.
Yeah, basically, like, kind of like the healthy thing to do is keep one foot in the present and 1 foot in the future.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you have to shift your weight forward every once in a while or backwards.
Yeah,
exactly. Come back to the present, go back to the future. Yoga, how did you get started in that? Because that was a really fun class.
Thank you. I always laugh when people are like, yeah, yoga class was really funny or like fun. I'm like, I don't really know if that was the original, you know, intent with most yogic experience for people, but I think it is. I think that for me, I just started practicing yoga, you know, just doing it myself. I grew up as a dancer, so for me, when I started yoga,
yeah, like a lot of hats about you. Okay, you did acting when you were a child. You did. Honestly, now you're the artist, you're the painter, singing, yoga, like, dancing.
Do the things you love, man. That's some of my best advice I can have is just, like, start being, you know, just be. I think that I really fell into, like, the lap of yoga because I had that same mindset that a lot of people do when they start is, like, I want to, like, get back the flexibility I had when I was a dancer, and I want to be stronger, and I want to, like, feel more peaceful and be more balanced in my body. And then all of those things, when you practice yoga long enough, start to resonate off of the mat in your life, where it becomes a moving meditation, basically, and it allows, it just gives you a space to grow that is so special. I have a lot of things I can say about yoga, but I usually just tell people to do it. Just try it. I mean, it's practice. There is something really profound about how it speaks to the rest of my life, which is just that it's a practice. You know, if you want that really crazy, weird, pretzel-y pose, you have a lot of steps to get there. And that's kind of how I like to, you know, lead most of my life, is just these baby steps to lead to whatever that is that you're searching for. But it's about the in-between, man. It's cream filling.
Cream filling. Yeah, one thing I like about yoga, I think, like, every person should at least do it once. Like, I put, like, once a week in their... if they're really physically active, then you should do yoga. Especially for a man like me, because I'm heavy set and also I have bad knees. I had surgery on both of them. And I found out yoga really like helps me with the knee injuries and relaxing and less injuries on other parts of my body. But yeah, I always walk away like, oh, I feel pretty good. It's a pretty good day now.
That's the goal, man.
That's the goal. See what else? Oh, so a good question that I forgot to ask. What's the biggest struggles you have as an artist?
Just the biggest struggles. I would say the fact that financially going in waves, so like knowing that 1 month I can make enough money to survive off of, and then 3 months I can make nothing. Not nothing, but, close to it. It's a very, I would say that's still something I'm trying to like know to be true, is that it's not consistent. So I would say the inconsistencies financially where I am doing well, but I am very protective and kind of, I try to be smart financially where I basically pretend I don't make money when I make money. I put it far away. Yeah, and I think that there's just, it goes back to just my whole thing on like living simply. I love to cook, so I cook a lot, but to save money also, I just don't, do a lot of things that cost money. But yeah, I think that, a really basic answer to that is financially. Being an artist is difficult. That being said, I have gotten to a place where I'm like, a little more stable with the finances. And usually once I make money, I also put it back into my work. That's usually how that whole art thing goes. You make money, make an art, and then you put it back into your art. But
reinvest it.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as struggles go, I would say the clear answer of like, I'm not a lawyer in the money I'm making, or I'm not even.
You probably make more money than a lawyer. Actually, to be honest, I almost went to law school and I passed the LSAT. Wasn't a really great score, but it was enough to get me to a couple of schools. But my best friend talked me out of it, and honestly, that's not a good job to go into.
It depends how good you are as a lawyer, I think.
Yeah, but it's like you have to be, for you make it like $100,000 a year. You have to go to the top law school, and then you have to be part of the top third of that.
Well, yeah. So just my point being, I'm not rolling in it, but I think that difficulty wise, I would say that most of the time it's great for me that my work is so emotionally involved. But that sometimes that can be difficult, that if things are going on in my own life, that are difficult, it's going to reflect in my work. So that's probably one of the harder things to kind of continue to figure out as an artist, is how do you try not to let your whole, person get so involved in your work so deeply that it can be affected, or vice versa. It's like,
you don't want to do like what Van Gogh did.
Sure. Yeah. Right. I mean, love me some Van Gogh. But there's nothing. Actually, I wouldn't say that you don't want to do that. That seems silly to say, really. But that's a good way to kind of describe that. Just it's hard to pour out a lot, right? It's kind of one of those like. I invest a lot of my emotions and I put it out there through my art. So in a way, sometimes I need to be able to fill that cup up. And that's also where yoga comes in and helps a lot. But I would say that alone, just kind of figuring, and that's going to be a constant. I don't ever think I'll find a solution to that. I don't really want one. It's more of just being able to have a better understanding of where my work's coming from and how I can handle that, and know how to like handle my time well and my energy and if I'm not doing, if I'm not 100%, to take some time away and to back off when you need to back off, refill, recharge, and get back to it. So,
to it.
Yeah.
singing too. You said you sing. What kind? Tell us about that. Like, is it a
Full
band
circle.
or?
It is, yeah. So I was singing in a bluegrass band with a couple guys for a while. It was a bunch of old dudes and me, and I loved them very much. Dudes. 2 of them were art teachers of mine, great guys. And as most kind of musical endeavors go, we had a little falling out as far as time and just everybody not having like the right times and figuring out how to do that when you have many hats and are kind of, trying to figure all that out. So that, unfortunately just kind of slowly dwindled, but I do some singing for the Savants of Soul, which is a soul group in town. My heart definitely lies much more in like soul, blues, jazz music. So I grew up, my, dad played trumpet, my brother plays drums, my sister played violin. I never was taught an instrument, which I like to be bitter about because why would I learn one now? Which is so silly. I should learn one. But I've always loved singing. I mean, that's what brought me to theater. And then I kind of, exited out of this whole theater world and want to for me, singing is the one thing that is very much not a job. Sure, it's great if I get paid for it and we do a gig, etc. But it is that is a filling my cup for sure. I absolutely love performing. I love the feeling, to sing by myself in front of people with one other person. I like, listening to music more than anything. You even noticed when you came in today, I rarely go like most of my life without listening to music. I think as an artist, you like grow to know, it's like, if I'm working on something for a whole day, I'm often got some kind of musical endeavor that I'm listening to or watching, etc. So I think they all assist each other. I think they really do have a relationship for me personally. But singing is very much a fun, like, just wonderful thing for me personally to be able to express and just fun. I don't have a lot of other words than like I'm having a great time when I'm singing.
Well,
should hear me in my shower, man. It's great. I'm just like
everyone sounds great in the shower. That's what
everything's going on. There we go.
Okay. Say something again, just in case.
Hello.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Have to get a new mic. One thing about any type of like a performance art, like I heard this from a podcast. This really intelligent guy, like he was talking about. He used to be a manager for a couple of famous bands. He said like, there's something to like a performance art, like singing or Broadway or acting like that, where if you gain something from the audience is getting something from you. It's like it's immediate feedback from each other, and the better you are, the more response you get from the audience, and the response comes back to you, and you grow from that too. Or you like, yeah, let's keep singing, let's hit those high notes, let's keep doing it.
Yeah, it's definitely another thing to have received and you can feed off it, and that's part of the reason I love singing when I do with the soul group, because it's like such a fun energy. It's just, yeah, that's what that's about,
Just come a little closer to the mic.
Sorry, it's
that's okay.
But yeah, that's singing's great. It's just another thing,
another hat to wear. Usually I would try and make this a little bit longer, but I had to get back to Jacksonville because my boss like, hey, come in at 3:00. I'm like, okay. All right, guys, this is the question part of the interview where I ask interpersonal questions for people who are new to the show. The reason why I ask these questions is because I have different guests on here, and people I have on here, I want to try, the whole goal is to get the full spectrum of the human condition. So I want to get the liberal, the conservative, the cop, the criminal. I want to try to get the whole thing and get everyone's viewpoint. And the reason why I ask these questions, because sometimes, like, you may disagree with how the person lives or the mistakes they made or the choices they made, but at least when you actually hear them out and when you hear these answers from them, you learn more about them as a person, and you kind of empathize with them more. So the whole idea is, it's okay to disagree with a person, but you don't have to hate them. Or you could
nailed it.
Yeah. Empathy. Empathy.
Do you ask these same questions to everybody?
Not the same
Am I allowed
ones.
to ask you questions?
Yeah, whatever. What happens, like, I have, what nobody knows, like, I have 30 questions on a sheet, and
oh, sounds scary.
But I don't ask all of them. Like, if the interview, depends how the interview goes.
Okay.
They might have answered some of these questions during the interview, the first half of the interview, but the last half, like, if they haven't answered it, okay, I'll go to this question, or
just kind of just skip and jump, around.
Or if we're pretty close to time where we have to leave early, like I have to leave early today, I'll ask like a certain. I know what's important questions I want to ask, so I'll probably ask 6 or 7. Which I know I feel like it's going to get a lot of good answers out of it.
Okay.
All right. Given the choice of anyone in the world from any time period, who would you want as dinner guest and why?
Oh, stop it. That's so fun. Any person, dinner guest, and why? Mm-hmm. Ooh. Whew. I mean, that's like one of those questions where, like, obviously everybody has so many answers to it. I'm going in with my gut here, because the first person I thought of was Ray Charles.
Oh, that's a good answer. I haven't heard something like that before.
Multiple things, because one, he's freaking Ray Charles, so he's incredible musician. Charles. But I also think that he had like an interesting life I'd like to know more about. Obviously, I'm not blind, and as an artist, I immediately like went there because I think meeting somebody that's like that epic in history, and for me, just that idea, I don't know what my life would be like if I couldn't see. That's something I can't relate to at all. So the idea of like, just like seeing. Yeah,
he was able to make something amazing.
Right. Just
when he had disability.
Yeah, incredible.
The complete disability. He can't see. Well, he made songs songs are going to be timeless. Like, he's going to be up there with for example, Beethoven we used Beethoven back 100, 200 years ago, and he'll be timeless, just like Johnny Cash, Rolling Stones, the Beatles.
Already is, man.
Yeah. Timeless. Like, I feel like he's one of the few artists that's going to go on for another couple of centuries.
Yeah.
What would constitute a perfect date for you?
A perfect date, huh?
Day.
Oh.
Day, sorry.
I was like, all right.
I cut you off. Actually, you know what? Let me write that down. That might be a good question in the future.
Perfect day. Perfect day.
Write that bad boy down.
I don't know, man. Like, what's a day? I would be out in nature, probably doing some, like, beautiful, epic thing in nature would be great, you know? Like, seeing a great waterfall, doing a good hike, having a really good meal, meeting some people, probably dancing. I love to dance. Like, some careless things, like, for a really perfect day, you know? Embrace the whole thing. Watch a good sunset. All the things. Food, nature, music. What do you know? That's a good day. Anything that involves and circles around that. Is that a good answer? Perfect day?
Yeah, it's...
Or a perfect date.
You know what? We want to ask that question.
Date, same answer.
Really? Because I was about to...
Maybe just like more food and booze.
More food and booze. Well, I'm going to use that question from now on. What would constitute a perfect date for you? Do you have a secret hunch on the way you will die?
Whoa.
Yeah, some of these are deep and dark, and some of them are really just funny.
A hunch on the way that I'll die?
Mm-hmm.
Not stupid. I hope I don't die stupid. And that sounds really harsh, but by that I mean, like, I hope I don't die, like, by choosing to do some really reckless thing and having it kill me. I hate that question.
Well, like, it's hard to think about your mortality. It
yeah,
really is hard
right,
to think
of course,
about that.
Yeah. I I'd like to think that I die very softly in my lover's arms, like in The Notebook. Very cheesy. Yeah, that's my really sappy artist cheesy answer to that. But I'll be honest about the way that I die. I don't know if I've thought a lot about the way I die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough question though. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be?
I'm very pleased with the way I was raised. I have 2 really wonderful parents. And my father is a pastor. I am not necessarily a religious person, so now, I mean, I've gone through lots in life, but I would consider myself, if you must title it, agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly like to live with regret, so I don't, or even, it feels genuinely wrong since I was created by 2 people that I really respect and love to say that I'd wish they'd raised me differently, because even though I don't agree with a lot of the things that they believe, I'm happy that I was brought up in a home that had an honor and respect for other people and for treating people with kindness and a lot of the values that come with Christianity. I definitely agree with and I'm on board with. So I think that for me, the way I was raised was very deeply rooted in those traditions. And sure, there's, I guess, little things here and there, but I think that's my answer, because I don't necessarily think I wish I was raised any differently the way I was.
Well, that's a great answer. I think for that answer, for the guests I had so far on the show, that's been a mixed answer. Well, I would say probably 60% of them are happy how they were raised, and the rest of them are if they did complain, those are actually a couple of them were actually pretty legit complaints, the parents did were pretty bad, but some of them were nah, I wish they would have taught me this or they would have taught me that, but it wasn't never anything that bad. This is a fun one. If you wake up tomorrow and gain any power or ability, what would it be and why?
Any power or ability to wake up tomorrow and I've got it?
Yeah.
I just feel so stupid. I feel like probably I just would have always wanted to fly. Is that such a stupid answer?
No, it's a great...
I want to fly so bad.
Well,
but also, being invisible would be so cool. But I don't necessarily think invisible is my answer, because, it's kind of overrated. I don't know. I don't know that many things I'd do if I was invisible, that are that exciting. I would just want to fly. My answer's fly. I'll fly.
Well, I told someone on one of the recent episodes, the whole thing about flying, because we were talking about pet birds.
Of course, yeah.
I don't know. It's what? I think it's a sin to have a bird as a pet, because you give them they have a great gift. They have the ability to fly. That's something that we envy. We as a species built planes to actually go to different places, and the whole idea about keeping a bird in a cage is I don't think this should be domesticated animals.
Yeah.
That's my... If I was ever on a PETA movement, that would be no pet birds. No pet birds.
I have a couple friends with pet birds, I'll be honest.
Well, the parrots or...
I have a cat. I'm a very traditional,
Was that orange one that I saw earlier?
Yeah.
The one with the little ear?
Yeah, he's got a little ear. Was he out there? Oh, his name's Vincent Van Meow.
Vincent Van Meow.
Yeah, he's perfect.
He walks around, talks to cats, yeah, my name's Van Meow.
Yeah, he gets it.
What conspiracy theories do you believe in?
Not a lot. I'm kind of I don't think I have an answer to that. Another question. I don't know. I don't have anything good there. I'm just I kind of like believe in like other life on other planets. Like, is that an answer? That's not really a conspiracy theory.
I don't think that's not conspiracy.
Like, I'm not really much for like conspiracy theories. I don't know if I can even like think of a bunch off the top of my head that I even start to believe in. So I'm just not a good one for that.
No,
do you get weird, juicy answers for that?
No, yours is actually a pretty good answer. Because
I totally
some people
believe that there's some shit out there I don't get. That's my answer to that.
Actually, the first time I asked that question was with my my friend who was an ex-cop. We both did our interviews together. The episode was, I went to his house back in Savannah, and he stopped being a cop, and he's like, hey, let's get high. Let's actually smoke pot. So that was the episode we smoked pot. Then we started, he told his stories, like he had a lot of great stories. Then we asked these questions. And his answer to that one was, he believes in, I forgot what they call them, but basically the nightmare people. There's like a documentary on Netflix. I had to watch it with him.
That sounds terrifying.
That disorder where you fall asleep, but your body goes in paralysis, and you wake up but you can't move your body.
Sure.
A lot of people complain of the same thing, that they see like a dark figure coming for them, and they can't move their body.
This is the guy who got stoned with?
Yeah, that's it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like when I watched the documentary, I'm like, man, this is freaky. Yeah. I'm starting to believe it now.
All right, noted.
That's the first time I asked that question, and that was kind of like the best answer. Right. When was the first time you fell in love, and how did it happen?
The first time I fell in love. I would say I was like actually in love probably for the first time in college with my college lover boyfriend. But I don't know, the way love, like I'm a very like organic person, I think, when it comes to relationships. I've never really used any type of website or other things. Like I'm also a huge personality person. I like people when they are interesting and they care about things.
I want to do someone interesting.
But I think I've actually been kind of a relationship person most of my life. I've jumped from a couple different relationships to the next, and I'm currently not in a relationship for the first time in almost a decade, which is kind of crazy. So,
wait a minute, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But so I was in a relationship in high school, and then I ended that when we graduated, and then I started a relationship in college and ended that. Soon after college ended, I just dated another person right away, and I just got out of a relationship with him. I was in a relationship for like basically 4 years at a time, just one. I think that for me, I've experienced love with a lot of different people, and I genuinely do think I loved them. But that how it happened is like weird.
How so?
Question. I feel just like really connected to having chemistry with people. I've been with a lot of people that are also like creative sources. So, they're people who have an understanding for the creative process for sure. That's definitely like a thing that assisted in, how I fell in love with them. But I do think like having a deep connection and kind of like, I'm super into the whole cheesy romantic thing. Just as far as of my own experience, like I've had some really, wonderful, passionate starts to relationships. I played music, which is how with the guy that I was with last, that's how we kind of like fell in love, was playing music together, which is a wonderful way to fall in love if you ever get a chance. He was actually a brewer as well. So he made beer. And even though that's not making art. It is making things, and we had very similar kind of feelings on creation and art. Oh, it's totally an art. I'm a big beer snob, so I'm a big fan of the art of making beer.
Food and liquor and
all
beer,
of that, all of
wine.
So, I've always been in a relationship with people that I think have an understanding of that, though. You know, nobody's been like so far off from that for me, where that's definitely a root source for how I've fallen in love, I guess. If that's the answer to that question.
Have you ever had a spiritual or profound experience?
Well, sure.
Yeah, let's just jump to that question.
Profound experience. I've dabbled in lots of things. I've had spiritual experiences growing up in church when I felt like I believed in one thing, and then I've grown up and I've changed my beliefs, and I've had spiritual experiences there, and I've had partaken in different things. Psychedelic things, if you will, I'm sure, where I've had prophetic experiences, spiritual experiences. But outside of those, I would say that I've had pretty prophetic experiences in some really mundane things that people would not expect to be the answer to that. Just really simple, going back to that original Jenna answer of like, I've had more prophetic experiences, like simply sitting in a natural space and kind of like really taking in the mysteriousness and the majesty of this world that I barely understand around me. And sometimes I'll get caught in having those moments in times that I think aren't your like typical answer to that.
That's a good answer, though. Don't be ashamed. I have profound experience on DMT.
Well, I'm sure, yeah. That sounds like it had to happen. It was like guaranteed.
It's like, whoa, I believe in something now.
I mean, you were a cop. You're doing it all. Oh,
like, I feel kind of embarrassed about saying this, but I'm writing an article about it for the website. And my sister and her girlfriend are, they want to know what happened last night. I went to a sex party, like one of those kink parties, just to get a good story out of it. Like, okay, let me, and also try to find a couple of people to interview. And I actually found a cool guy, and I'm gonna call him when I leave here, see if we could set up an interview.
You're just like trying to figure it all, like figure out everybody's whole thing.
Yeah, I love exploring people, like different cultures and stuff. And,
there are plenty of options for you, my friend. We live in a world, my father would be so proud of, limitless possibilities.
It was some strange shit.
Yeah, there are things out there. I'm happy for people that are just like out there exploring. I mean, I'm definitely interested in plenty of things, but I know the things I'm also not interested in. So, I give it to you. You're out there and you're doing it.
I did get spanked. I did try that.
All right.
But, no, there's some stuff that happened and I'm like, this is good. There was some stuff that happened last night. I was like, man, this is like a great arc or a great story. Like the stuff that happened from the
spank of Frank.
No, the title Frank I'm working on. No, the title.
Spank Frank.
Spank. No. What's the title I wrote down? That's for a different article. Oh my god. Okay. It's called, an anal butt plug with a foxtail on it. The exploration of Jacksonville's kinky side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is like some weird stuff. And that was just funny. I'm probably going to rework that name, but.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Wish you the best.
Hashtag
spank Frank.
All this will be an article.
I'm keeping that one.
All this is going to be an article, like, what happened last night. Like, oh my god, that was some weird shit. And a good thing I didn't drink anything, too. I was like, alright. People live their lives the way they want.
They sure
it was
do.
A safe place, and everybody was nice.
Great. Safe and nice.
What is your most treasured memory?
My most treasured memory.
Mm-hmm.
I have some like memories from. That's so broad, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I would say okay. So I believe I'll continue to make memories, but the first thing I thought of was I watched my sister give birth to my first niece.
Oh wow,
that'll do it. Watch life come into this world, man. That's a memory.
Oh my god, that's a baby. It's a human being.
Held her legs for it. Yeah, like, yeah, we'll call that definitely one of my most precious, like, really, just time you remember it, too. Like, I just remember so much, about that whole experience, and I care so much. I'm a very big, family person in general. I'm the youngest. I have an older brother and an older sister, and I'm very close with both of them. Also very different from both of them. Mm-hmm. But I love my family. So any kind of really special memory I think I've had revolves and is around them. But that would be probably my more recent, still a few years ago, but definitely special.
Special and disgusting at the same time. Like, oh my god.
Oh, not even. The placenta's disgusting, but like the life, yeah. Okay. Everything else was fine, you know? I'm a pretty easy chick I'm not grossed out easily.
You're just watching eating a sandwich. Like, high
pain tolerance, high tolerance for all things people might consider gross. I don't know. You know?
Well, actually, women have a higher pain tolerance than men.
Yeah,
a way higher pain tolerance.
Ditto.
Cool.
Glad we agree on that.
Yeah. No, like, for training, we had to get tased.
Uh-huh.
All the women took it and did not scream or yell. They just took the taser.
That's, I believe, a lot with, like, the social construct, too, of women having to kind of endure, you know, just, like, growing that thick skin.
Like, ugh.
Yeah, totally.
Was it Rosie the Riveter?
I'm for it, yeah.
What's the biggest sacrifice you made? And the next question will be the last one.
The biggest sacrifice I've made?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say there was like a time where I had to tell my parents that are very found and strong in their faith, mm-hmm. that I did not believe in the same thing as them. And that this thing that grew me up into religiously and just kind of that I wasn't there. I wasn't on board with it. Mm-hmm. And instead of having to kind of fake that anymore, to just be really honest with them. I don't know if that was a big sacrifice for me. I felt like it was a lot easier to go along with it and to say, I can just be this person for them and I can keep trying or whatever it is. But it was kind of a sacrifice to say that I wasn't going to hold on to that comfort anymore, to just be honest with myself about how I actually felt, about my own beliefs, and then to also share those with the people that mean literally the most to me in the world. It's a weird answer to sacrifice.
No, that's actually really.
I think it
was interesting answer.
You know,
though.
Like I was trying to think like the more important kind of like moves I've made, and I mean, I feel really found where I am right now as far as just the uncertainty I have and not knowing. Mm-hmm. But that is and still is a difficult thing to have known that it would have been easier to have not made that sacrifice on some level. And then there's the level where obviously I wouldn't be as real as I can be with them or authentic. And
that is a big word right there, authentic. Like,
yeah.
You have to become independent and authentic, and part of that's forming your own beliefs.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of people don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't look
Well, it's hard, especially if you have the comfort of it. I think that was...
Oh, that's a good point.
A huge part for me was it was like more comfortable to stay in the idea that I believed in the same things and we all shared the same answer. You know, like there's part of it that's an answer to a lot of your problems through prayer, forgiveness, etc. And so for me to say that I don't share that same answer with them was hard. It was definitely a sacrifice that I needed, I think, to make.
Yeah, part of growing as a person, like part of becoming self-actualized, or what's the other word for it? Ascending, if you want to use that, or becoming more spiritual, if you want to. Like, you have to form your own beliefs about God and the world. And as long as you don't hurt another person, then believe what you want. That's what I think. This is the last question, and sorry guys, I have to cut this short. And this is the question I asked to everyone. It's a 2-part question. What is the worst thing you have ever done, and what is the best thing you ever done in your life?
Worst thing I've ever done? Best thing I've ever done? Okay. Worst thing I've ever done is be unfaithful, probably, in a relationship. That was the worst feeling I've ever had internally, and the worst thing I've ever done to somebody that I really loved at the time.
What made you do it?
When?
I said, what made you do it?
Lots of uncertainty about where we were at the time in the relationship, but mostly a lot of like passion and lust on the other end, for sure. Okay. Mostly passion. I was studying abroad and I was in a whole different world, and I was in Europe, so I was in like the most romantic places in the world. But I also was an artist studying, art and art history in Italy and France. So I met a guy that was on the trip, and it just kind of like became this thing where I actually felt like I was a whole different human. And then I came back to my realities, and I don't think I've ever felt worse as a person for something that was such a fleeting moment in time. That was like one of those things where it really shows you how time can be quite a illusion. It was like this was this time period I had with this one person, and everything felt perfect then, and then it just completely dissipated into like the worst I've ever felt about a decision that I made that affected, you forget the people that are affected by the decisions you make. And I think that for me is part of the reason I consider it one of the worst things I've done, because it affected multiple people in my life. But when your decisions have consequences like that, it's, and it changes you. It definitely deeply resonated with me, where I was changed, hopefully, to be a better person from that experience.
Well, I believe I was on the opposite side of that. I'm not sure what happened with someone I loved. I'm not sure if she was cheating on me or not, but a lot of the signs were there. Just to be upfront, like it's actually pretty comforting you saying that stuff. It's like it makes me more hopeful towards people, especially women. Like, okay, you acknowledge you did something wrong, and it's like there's an understanding now.
Yeah.
And especially for someone who was on the other side of that, it's actually really just not nice, but actually kind of like a relief, or it was good just understanding what happened on the other side, like what was going on, because I really didn't understand, like from a woman's perspective, why someone would cheat.
Yeah, growth only comes, I think, from places where you can step back and have a time where you cannot understand why you did something, but you can be apologetic for it and come from a place of knowing that it was wrong. I mean, I think there's something really important about saying that was wrong.
Yeah.
I should do better, or I could have done better. And coming, I mean, that's where, you know, there's plenty of people that apologize for things where maybe they're not actually sorry.
Yeah.
But that's one of those where I just am. I knew that what I made, the choice, and it was my choice. I think for a very long time, it's a lot easier to blame the things around me. And even there, you know, I still did. It's like there was another person involved and he had a lot to do with why it happened, obviously. Yeah. But it wasn't it was still my choice. I think you have to own up to your own shit,
I mean,
if you will.
That's a sign of a real...
We are people who decide things for ourselves, and it's important to know the consequences that happen when you make a poor choice.
Yeah. And to me, that's a sign of a really good person. The thing is, we're not all perfect. Some of us make worse decisions than others. But, like what you said, some people never really apologize for it. Or if they do apologize, it's like half-hearted. It's not a real apology. And they never really looked at what they did, or never really acknowledged what they did. And it was, like I said, it's pretty comforting, like, hearing that from a woman, like, no, you acknowledge it. Like, you actually looked at it, it's like, okay, I hurt someone.
I feel like you got a thing going on with women not doing that a lot, Frank.
Actually, well, I could tell you this on the phone sometime, but it was a second story I made. It's actually funny now, but like the way the breakup happened was pretty bad. But like I said, like the relationship that I was talking about, like, really deeply affected me, even for years. Like, even though the relationship was really short, it really affected me, how the whole trust issue.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just comforting you saying that. I wasn't really expecting that. And what's the best thing you ever done?
Best thing I've ever done.
And now to get no.
What a weird question. The best thing I've ever done? Is this like for is it the best thing I've ever felt like I've done for myself?
It's whatever you see.
Whatever I see it as. I know. I just like best thing I've ever done.
Just to give you a little insight, the way I got those two questions happened a couple of years ago. My grandfather, it's kind of morbid. My grandfather was in the hospital, and this was like a month or so before he died. And I asked him, the last question was, the worst thing you ever done? What's the best thing you ever done? I don't remember the worst thing, but I always remember the best thing. That he loved his family, he loved people, and he felt like he lived a good life. Towards the end of his life, he wasn't regretful or anything. Yeah. So that's why I kind of asked that question. That's why I asked that question to everyone, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people need to like kind of like. Okay, well, we'll end it in like a really great cheesy way then. That's really what my answer is to it, which is like, I think the best thing I ever did was decide to be brave and vulnerable enough to make art for a living. Yeah. I mean, it comes back to art. I definitely think the best thing I've done so far is the choice to say, you're going to make artwork and you're going to live off of it. You're not just going to make it and then, you know, pursue other careers. Like, I feel like I am finally at a place where I am fully invested in this idea that I will make things. And hopefully I'll create some things that can affect people in a positive way. And also, I mean, just really for me, it's about continuing to do all of these things that bring me joy, but also, I mean, I don't particularly think my own life is like about my own happiness. You know, I think that I respond to, other people's joy as well. And yes, my family, my relationships, my friendships, are very important to me. I think the people you meet on this earth and in this life are some of the most, you know, it's where you're going to learn the most. And I think that fully living, this idea of fully being whatever you truly feel like your purpose is the best thing you can do in your life, is to just
exist there, because worrying about that step forward even, or the step back, you know, traveling back to those times we even just talked about, that worst place I've been. There is growth that comes from there, but there's not growth in living there. You know, a lot of people stay in those spaces. And I just think that moving forward, knowing what lights you up. And if you haven't like even thought about that before, that's a question. Like, what do you feel from, even if it's something super weird, you know? It's like everybody's got something that they really like feel lit up by. So finding that and being the best like version of yourself within that.
All right. Thank you for letting me come to Gainesville and checking out your
weird home.
Your yoga in your house. It's really nice in here. I like it. How can people find you?
How can people find me? Yeah. I live in Gainesville, Florida, but I do travel for art purposes. My website is www.jennahorner.com. Jenna, JENNA HORNER. And my art Instagram and Facebook both are at j.horner art. Yeah. That's pretty much, you know, those are the go-tos. And email and, you know, other like adult human things
and
too.
I'll put your website address on the description.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, too, I'm going to remind you, send me a couple of pictures so I can put them on the website too. So that way, anyone who does go to a website, because you can download it from iTunes and stuff, but you can also go to a website and download the episode there. I put the extra pictures on there. So if anybody wants to come look at some of your art, you can go look at the episode description. All right, guys. Check out the website, ataboolife.com. Has very interesting articles, short stories, some poems, because I am that sappy. The story about the sex club should be out hopefully by the end of the week. So I'm writing that story out now. That's why I keep a little notebook with me, and while Jenna was talking, I jot down little notes to remind myself. But other podcasts on the episode, other episodes of the podcast are on the website. All of it's free. Again, check out the website, ataboolife.com. All right, guys. Thank you. And thank you, Jenna, for doing the episode.
You're welcome. Thank you, Frank. Have a good one.
Me too.